Bill Maher thinks WNBA rookie and #1 draft pick Caitlin Clark is being targeted by other players because she's...
Bill Maher has brought to light a startling perspective on why WNBA rookie and #1 draft pick Caitlin Clark is facing such adversity from other players. It's not just her gameplay that's under scrutiny, but her identity as well. He suggests that because she doesn't conform to the majority demographics of the league, which he notes as 60% lesbian and 85% black, she's being ostracized. Maher provocatively points out that Clark's ordeal may stem from her being neither lesbian nor black, implying a cultural clash that goes beyond the basketball court. According to Maher, this discord has even influenced the handling of her contract, pushing her to seek appreciation in Europe, where her talents might be more valued. Clark's experience in the WNBA hasn't just been about tough competition, it's also involved navigating a culture that, as Maher puts it, seems more invested in social agendas than in nurturing its diverse talent pool. He doesn't shy away from critiquing the WNBA, suggesting that their focus might be misplaced, which could be why they are losing star athletes like Clark. Her move to Europe is painted not as a choice but a necessity for survival, a way to find respect and recognition that eludes her in her own league. Maher also highlights the struggles Clark has voiced about the physicality of the game and the officiating, which she feels has been unfairly harsh on her. She's expressed feeling targeted and overly penalized, a sentiment that Maher amplifies, questioning the fairness and integrity of the league's treatment towards her. This isn't just a sports issue, it's a workplace challenge where an individual feels undermined, not because of a lack of skill, but possibly because of personal characteristics. By casting a spotlight on these issues, Maher isn't just commenting on sports, he's igniting a broader dialogue about inclusivity, fairness, and the dynamics of professional environments. This narrative reframes Clark's departure not as a loss for her alone, but as a reflective moment for the WNBA to evaluate its core values and the message it sends to its athletes and fans. Caitlin Clark's arrival in the WNBA was supposed to be a cause for celebration, heralded as the best thing to happen to the league in years. Yet it quickly became apparent that her success was overshadowed by her failure to conform to the prevailing political narrative within the league. It's often the case that a megastar's presence can stir mixed feelings, however, the undercurrents in this scenario ran particularly deep due to the intersection of race and sexual orientation. Despite the WNBA's vocal commitment to inclusivity, it seemed they struggled with embracing a star who did not check the conventional boxes. Caitlin is white and straight, attributes that, in this context, inexplicably turned her into a target. Rather than celebrating her extraordinary talent, it appeared that league officials preferred to keep her achievements under wraps, perhaps out of concern that she was becoming too prominent, overshadowing the narrative they preferred to promote. This reluctance to spotlight her success was a telling sign of a deeper discomfort within the league. Bill Maher, never one to shy away from controversy, addressed this issue head-on. He highlighted the league's hypocrisy, loudly championing equality and fairness, yet simultaneously turning their backs on one of their most promising talents simply because she didn't fit the desired profile. From day one, Caitlin faced treatment reminiscent of an unwelcome outsider. Subjected to snide remarks and a cold shoulder from other players, her experience was akin to navigating a high school clique, but with the added pressure of professional sports. The situation escalated during one particular game, captured on tape, where Caitlin was blatantly body-checked by another player, a move that seemed all too intentional. Observing the dynamics on the court, one could see the stark contrast in team solidarity. While men typically defend their teammates aggressively, the response from Caitlin's teammates was noticeably lackluster. This incident was not just a moment of physical altercation, but a symbolic representation of the challenges Caitlin faced, a clear depiction of the league's internal conflicts and the personal battles Caitlin had to endure. Maher's critique was a poignant reminder of the complex layers of discrimination that can permeate even the most progressive environments, challenging the audience to reflect on the real implications of inclusivity in professional sports. The incident involving Angel Reese's head slap on Caitlin Clark was not merely a momentary lapse. It was charged with an undercurrent that had everyone pausing the game to question, did she really just do that? During a 2024 regular season game, as Reese confronted Clark, she delivered a forceful slap to the head, a gesture that seemed to resonate with more than just physical impact. This action transcended the usual bounds of competitive trash talk, suggesting a deeper, more personal vendetta. Fans speculated that this was no spur-of-the-moment reaction, but a deliberate tactic to undermine Clark, portraying Reese as a player who not only stirs the pot, but perhaps aims to boil it over. This scenario painted Reese not just as a fierce competitor, but as someone whose rivalry with Clark might be feeding her popularity, with her actions against Clark adding fuel to her media presence. In the midst of this escalating drama, Dejon Carrington threw her own hat into the ring during the first game of the 2024 WNBA playoffs between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun. Carrington's move and eye poke straight out of a slapstick comedy was no laughing matter for Clark, who suffered a bruised eye from the encounter, leaving fans and commentators filled with questions about the intent behind the act. Clark's statement after the game, "I feel like I'm getting hammered, and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with," encapsulated her fraught experience on the court. Her performance that day at dismal 4 of 17 shooting was further marred by Carrington's questionable poke, which she dismissed as accidental. Yet, the skepticism was palpable among the spectators, many of whom viewed the poke as a calculated part of a rough game strategy, possibly overlooked or mishandled by the officials. The controversy didn't stop at the physical interactions. The officiating itself became a focal point of contention, with Maher vocalizing the frustration of many. Clark seemed to be a magnet for dubious calls, with phantom fouls attributed to her at an alarming rate, prompting even seasoned commentators to question the fairness and competence of the refereeing. This situation highlighted a potentially systemic issue within the WNBA's officiating, turning what could have been an ordinary game into a showcase of questionable judgments and potential bias, impacting not just the game's outcome, but also its integrity. The unfolding drama surrounding Caitlin Clark in the WNBA transcended mere sports controversy. It became a critical conversation about fairness and bias within professional athletics. As analysts and fans scrutinized the matches, a disturbing pattern emerged. Clark was penalized excessively, while her opponents appeared to play with a degree of impunity rarely granted in professional sports. This pattern suggested a systemic issue within the WNBA, as the organization seemed to condone or overlook the discrepancies in officiating. At the heart of the uproar were not only the calls on the court, but also the vitriolic racial comments that targeted Clark from some sections of the Indiana Fever fanbase. Such hostility laid bare the ugly side of sports, where fandom crosses into personal attacks, making the professional arena an unwelcome space for an athlete performing at her peak. Despite facing unprecedented levels of online harassment, Clark maintained her composure and professionalism, addressing the media with the grace of a seasoned athlete, determined not to let the voices of a few dictate her narrative. Fueling the fire were WNBA players like Angel Reese and Alyssa Thomas, whose actions and statements intensified the scrutiny around Clark. Reese's public accusations on her platform, Unapologetically Angel, branded Clark's supporters as racists, a serious charge that inflamed tensions further. Thomas, too, claimed her playoff experience was marred by racial hostility, implicating Clark's high-profile status as a catalyst for increased racial tensions. In the midst of this storm, Clark stood firm, advocating for a return to the core values of sportsmanship and integrity. During a pivotal press conference, she addressed the controversy head-on, clarifying that the hateful rhetoric did not reflect the sentiments of her true fan base, but was instead the work of internet trolls. This episode drew comments from public figures like Virginia Governor Glenn Yonan, who underscored Clark's positive influence on women's basketball, highlighting her role in rejuvenating fan interest and enthusiasm for the sport. Not one to shy away from contentious issues, Bill Maher waded into the discourse, casting a critical eye on how the WNBA managed its internal conflicts and public image. Maher criticized the league's handling of the situation, accusing it of allowing racial and political dynamics to overshadow pure competitive spirit. He pointed out that what should have been a straightforward sports rivalry was now a complex web of accusations and divisiveness, diminishing the league's integrity. As the season drew to a close, the ongoing disputes prompted many players to reconsider their futures in the WNBA. The league, which should have been a beacon of athletic excellence and equality, found itself mired in conflicts that extended far beyond the basketball court. For Clark, the decision to move to Europe was more than a career choice. It was a necessary step towards reclaiming her love for the game in an environment that valued her skills and dedication to basketball over the surrounding controversy. This situation, emblematic of broader issues within sports organizations, highlights the necessity for leagues like the WNBA to reevaluate their policies and practices to ensure that they promote fairness and support their athletes amidst the challenges of professional sports.